Have you ever woken up, looked in the mirror, and gotten tired of being unhealthy and out of shape? So have I. Did you set all kinds of goals for a better diet, exercise, sleep, and supplements? And how'd that go for you? The real solution isn't treating the symptoms you see in the mirror. Instead, it's all about prevention. It's not a multiple choice. In reality, for real change, the real answer is all of the above. Chronic homelessness is much like trying to get in shape. There are many individual solutions to singular problems that are destined to fail if an equal amount of focus is not put on prevention. I've volunteered over the years experiencing the pain firsthand. I also researched the top 10 problems facing the homelessness crisis, as well as the cities that have been both successful and unsuccessful in homelessness initiatives. The results of today's homeless crisis is that without radical change, there won't be radical results, which supports my thesis. Though there are good programs out there to fix the symptoms, it will take a comprehensive, fully integrated strategy focused on prevention for long lasting and meaningful change. We will start this journey by digging in deeper with an honest look at the root problems, to reverse engineer from the desired result of creating a plan that actually results in both near term emergency help, but most importantly, long term results. So, when we look in the mirror of homelessness, what do we see? What are the root problems that need to be solved? According to an article from Human Rights Watch, there are five basic categories these problems fall into: affordable housing and shelter, stagnant wages and unemployment, and lack of mental health and addiction treatment, high cost of healthcare, and finally, racism and domestic violence. Each of these issues have a unique subset of problems that collectively add up to the overall homelessness problem. Affordable housing and shelter, in many experts' eyes, is the proverbial tip of homeless iceberg, as it is both the most visible and also impactful single problem to solve. Without it, it diminishes the success in other problem areas greatly. But there are major obstacles. A global survey from the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy showed that out of 200 large cities polled, 90% were considered unaffordable. Lack of mental health and addiction treatment, along with unaffordable health care, is equally as devastating. As people make hard choices, often healthcare is one of the first to go due to the high cost, which of course means they are one incident away or a sickness away from total devastation. And though every city has tried to deploy programs and outreaches to solve the problem, more are failures than are successes, and often they just continue with the same old approach of trying to treat the symptom, rather than stepping back and radically looking at how to focus on prevention. As the old saying goes, an ounce of prevention saves a pound of cure. Let's start with some failures. According to an article in US News and World Report in April, the top three cities with rampant problems are New York, followed by Los Angeles, and then Seattle and Tacoma, with homeless numbers averaging a horrifying 8 to 10% of the total population. What is the common denominator of policies and procedures in the top cities that have led to failures? It is poorly coordinated and integrated programs that are more focused on emergency shelter rather than the root problems of chronic homelessness. To focus on fixing something rather than investing in preventative maintenance, New York has a greater concentration of temporary shelters, however, they are deficient in mental health and addiction services. Los Angeles coastal areas like Venice Beach and Santa Monica have become dangerous, drug-infested tent cities, forcing businesses to shut and have ever more important tourists seek other places to go, which affects the economy. The tax base and ultimately the resources to combat the core problem are also affected. Seattle fell victim to the start/stop political challenges on how not to address homelessness, as their programs were one-dimensional and focused on addressing the symptoms and immediate problems at hand, with barely any investment or plan to create homelessness prevention plans. Houston, Columbus, and Salt Lake City are all examples of successful initiatives. They all have a few things in common, including a more integrated prevention plan, health and addiction services, self-care programs for hygiene, and job placement approaches. But they also have a transition plan to help the homelessness not only prevent their fate in the first place, but to find success after leaving the shelters. These top cities also were the first to institute a policy called Housing First, which was to identify the near homeless that were living in home or apartments that were in need of urgent repair and invest in making these living spaces adequate again. So, fixing what was not yet broken, preventative housing measures. According to a piece in NPR, Salt Lake City reduced chronic homelessness by 91%. The leadership of the city realized that for community supportive programs to solve the homeless problem, it came down to one thing: the optics of cleanliness and safety. Nothing in Houston was working a decade ago, and instead of trying to improve incrementally, which in reality is like a band aid on a mortal wound, Houston completely scrapped their old system and reinvented their approach from the ground up. Columbus, Ohio realized that their homeless shelter utilization was averaging only 50% pre pandemic, which, when compared to providing permanent housing options, was only $1,000 annually per person with a permanent housing fix versus a temporary one. These success stories are cautionary tales of what it means to embrace a challenge, think differently, and rally as citizens by taking drastic action with new innovative plans. But is that enough? Where are we in relation to real change across the country? We have reviewed the top 10 core issues driving homelessness, as well as examples of both successful and unsuccessful plans. But it's time to look in the mirror again. To get the homelessness problem in better shape, it will require a complete reset of the way that things have been done in the past. With your body, it is about what you eat, the amount of exercise, sleep, and your balance of supplements. Remove one of those and it will negatively affect the whole outcome. Addressing homelessness requires the same strategy with the 360-degree integrated plan addressing food, shelter, hygiene, mental health, addictions, social acclimation, and job readiness within real-time access to all support systems. I ask you to remember the importance of solving this crisis is not with answers that are multiple choice, but real preventative solutions that require the answer to be all of the above. Thank you.